And welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf, and we are here live on location from the Purpose Summit, the NASCAR Hall of Fame gear shop, as you can see here. Garry, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Charlie, thank you. Is that your race car parked outside? I just want to know.
It is. You want to do some laps after
Let's do that.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Gary's become a good friend of mine. Garry, you were the president and CEO of WD-40 Company for many years.
25 years.
25 years. And where are you from originally?
I'm not from Boston. So I was born in Sydney, Australia. I'm an Aussie, so g'day.
G'day, mate.
I moved to the U. I joined WD-40 in 1987. So I'd been with the company 35 years.
And how did you join them?
Interesting story. I worked for the licensee of WD-40 in Australia.
Okay.
So I got to know the folks here. And I used to come over for their annual sales meeting. And I think my claim to fame, Charlie, was singing Tie Me Kangaroo Down Sport in a tour bus on the way back from a Mexican dinner. And I think that's how I got the attention of the CEO of WD-40 Company.
There's a lot there to unpack, Garry.
I'm not singing.
Well, I was going to say, I've never had anyone sing on the podcast before.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
So I heard you speak 2 years ago at the Purpose Summit in Notre Dame. And do you recall what you spoke about then?
I probably spoke about culture in an organization because I truly believe that our role as leaders is to create a place where people go to work every day. They make a contribution to something bigger than themselves. They learn something new, they're protected and set free by a compelling set of values, and they go home happy.
You've retired from the current role. Now you're chairman emeritus at WD-40. But I feel like you're more working harder now than maybe you were working before. Like you're not riding off into the sunset. You're really living out this helping companies. And why do you do what you do today?
Well, I didn't retire. Okay. I refired.
You refired, I got it.
There's a difference.
Okay.
In reflection, I think I was given the gift of leading WD-40 Company for 25 years to do my apprenticeship in leadership.
Ooh, wow.
And now my purpose is to help leaders through love, forgiveness, and learning build organizations where people matter.
How does forgiveness play into that?
Well, one of the biggest demobilizers we have in organizations is fear. And you may have heard me talk about we don't make mistakes, we have learning moments. So we've always said, we don't make a mistake, we have a learning moment. And a learning moment is a positive or negative outcome of any situation that needs to be openly and freely shared to benefit all people. So I don't hear many people running down the corridors of organizations yelling out at high pitch, "I'm a failure." It doesn't feel good.
I love that. I've read so you've written 3 books. You have a 4th one on the way. Let's go through your book titles really quick. Helping People Win at Work.
I co-authored that with my dear friend and my mentor, Dr. Ken Blanchard.
Okay.
And the tagline of that is, I'm not here to mark your paper, I'm here to help you get an A.
Okay.
So our job as leaders is not to mark people's papers, is to be coaches and help people get an A. And if you think about a great coach, let's just talk about that for 1 minute, because it's really important. A great coach never runs onto the field. A great coach knows what it takes to win the game. A great coach never goes to the podium and picks up the prize. A great coach spends a lot of time in the stinky locker room, because that's where you build trust within an organization. So our job is to be a great coach.
Yeah.
And to be a great coach, you have to know what an A looks like. And unfortunately, in most organizations, most leaders don't define expectation. And that's how you get into that conflict around that. So that was the first book that I wrote with Ken Blanchard back in 2009.
That's a great metaphor. I love the imagery of connecting coaching, and that title, that byline, really helps you kind of really remember the book. The second one I have read, The Unexpected Learning Moment, which I think you wrote about COVID, your experiences during COVID at WD-40.
So we talk about the learning moment, and I think we'd all agree COVID was an unexpected learning moment.
This is true.
But it was in some ways, a great opportunity to redefine the 3 things that really matter for people in organizations. Do I belong? Do I matter? And can I make choices?
Yeah.
And because of the way our business environment changed, we had to ensure that we had practices in the organization that amplified the fact that people do belong, they do matter, and they can make choices.
We're going to come back to that word choice here in a second. What was the name of the third book?
Tribal culture.
Okay.
You know, my whole concept is based around belonging, and back at the beginning of time, we were all parts of tribe. You know, Ugg the caveman, you know, Fred Flintstone was part of a tribe. And I studied the attributes of tribes. And the number one responsibility of a tribal leader is to be a learner and a teacher. So great tribes are learning organizations and teaching organizations. Great tribes have a set of values that protect people and set them free. They're future focused. They're looking at how do they survive into the future. They love to celebrate because celebration is important. They respect specialized skills because within tribes there are specialized skills. There's some better hunters and some better fishermen, some better at building houses, whatever. So these were the attributes that put together. My reflection on a tribe has nothing to do with reflection on any indigenous groups. That's not what it's about. It's about the power of a group of people coming together to protect and feed each other, truly under the umbrella of tribal behavior, which starts with learning and teaching.
You make it seem so easy. Had you studied or read other people who've written about tribes and connecting tribal leadership?
Yeah, I read Sebastian Junger's book, Tribes, which triggered me. But you know, I'm an unforgiving stealer of great ideas. My book that's coming out next year.
I was going to get to your fourth title.
It's called Any Dumbass Can Do It, because I'm a dumbass, and actually I'm the dean of dumbassery. And the only reason...
I gotta make sure that that word can get passed through our filters here, but we'll
it's ASS.
Okay.
Like a donkey.
Yeah,
Any dumb donkey can do it.
I got it. Do you want to say it one more time?
any dumb donkey can do it. Okay. Any dumb ass can do it. It's my Australian accent.
How did you get into how did you come to have these beliefs about leadership and culture? Did you have them before you kind of got into the CEO role, or did you develop them along the way? Or you said Ken Blanchard was a mentor, so maybe how'd you get connected to Ken, and was he involved in this kind of this belief system you have?
Absolute story on that. I was appointed CEO of WD-40 on October 7, 1997. I was given the role because I had a passion to take the blue and yellow can with a little red top to the world. I didn't know how to do that. I knew what to do, but I didn't know how to do it. I was on a Qantas 747 flying from Los Angeles to Sydney. And as you do when you travel, you take a bunch of stuff to read. And I was reading, and I read two things. The first thing was a quote that was attributed to the Dalai Lama, and it says, "Our purpose in life is to make people happy. If you can't make them happy, at least don't hurt them." And I thought, that makes sense. Then I wrote a quote from Aristotle, who was born in 384 BC. He said, "Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work." And I went, duh. If we can create an environment where people actually enjoy what they're doing and feel that they matter and they belong, I guess we're going to get a better outcome. I still didn't know how to do it. I got back to San Diego. I was reading the local newspaper. There was an article in the local newspaper about a master's degree that was about to start at the University of San Diego. And it was put together by Ken Blanchard and USD. So I went to the information session, and Ken was speaking, and he said, "The problem with most MBA programs is they get people in the head. We got to start getting people in the heart. We got to start counting hearts, not heads."
That's good.
And I thought, bingo. So I'm 18 months into being CEO of a US public company. I went back to school.
Wow.
For 2 years, I studied servant leadership, and I started to take that learning and implement it within the company. And the stuff that worked, I turned up the volume on, and the stuff that didn't work, I threw it out. And I loved that program so much, Charlie, that I sent 34 people on a full scholarship over the next 20 years through that master's degree program. Guess what? The number one tribal attribute is learning and teaching.
Learning.
And I said to those people, if you're going to do that program, when you come back, you have to be an ambassador for learning. So they became faculty within inside the company.
That's so cool.
So this is simple. It's not easy. And time is not your friend. And I love you when you gave me that quote. You got to say it. Culture.
You can't microwave culture. It takes a crackpot mentality.
That's it. So you can't microwave culture. And I quote you all the time
Well, I
on that.
appreciate that. I mean, I'm sure I've been inspired by many people like you who've come out. It's got to be those repeated actions and disciplines. And we have great people, memory makers in our company who
You stole that from me.
Yeah, we stole it from you. Yeah, and now you're stealing it back. That's okay. I love but you led from, you were the learning leader at WD-40, and you said, I didn't just get the title and I arrived, I've got to go back to school, and I'm going to bring a lot of people with me. We're all going to go back to school, and you connected it to tribes, and somehow you kind of, so what are like the core values of WD-40? What's the purpose statement of WD-40?
The purpose statement is we exist to create positive, lasting memories, solving problems in factories, homes, and workshops around the world. We solve problems and we create opportunities. Our just cause was, or is, I think it still is, a group of people who come together to protect and feed each other. Our number one value was we value doing the right thing. And number two value was we value creating positive, lasting memories in all of our relationships. We had 6 values. Our last one was we value sustaining the WD-40 economy, which is the one about profitability.
Yeah.
Which you may think is quite unusual because we're a public company. I, for 25 years, used to tramp over to Wall Street or somewhere else and sit in front of investors who tell me, you've got to meet the next quarter, it's about the next 90 days. And I said, if you follow us in 90-day intervals, you're going to jump off a cliff because we're here to build an enduring company over time that we'll be proud to pass on to others. We took employee engagement to 93%. Our new CEO, Steve Brass, they just finished their employee opinion survey update 2 years later. It's still at 93%. 98% of our people say they love to tell people they work at the company. 97% of the people say they respect their coach. Their coach is their boss. Most people leave companies because they hate their boss. So
it's not fluff for you. You're willing to get the feedback, and I've heard you talk a lot about engagement surveys, which is real data. You're going to measure yourself and take those learnings and hold yourself accountable. You would do those engagement surveys annually? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
But now I'm working with another great company called HeartCount. They built a beautiful platform that's a pulse system that CEOs can actually get a dashboard and they can look at different areas of their company on real-time basis and say, Charlie's engagement level over the last 60 days has dropped 20 points. I would go to you and say, hey, Charlie, what's on your mind? What's getting in your way? How can I help?
You wouldn't wait till the person left. You'd be able to respond.
You're going to save them. There's something going on. And that could be in a store, a particular store, it could be in a department, or it could be the organization. And now that organizations are more broadly spread because we're working some way we are, we don't get that chance to spend the time in the locker room that we used to. So we now go to the virtual locker room.
Did you come up with the name HeartCount?
No.
I was going to say, you took that learning from that quote from Ken Blanchard all the way back to here, this new company.
I know.
Still counting hearts.
I know. It just happens to be the way it is. Ken was just ahead of his time.
Yeah, yeah. So tomorrow, your talk, I want to bring us back to the word choice. That's in the title of your talk tomorrow.
Yeah, the choice is yours.
So what will you be talking about to close out the Purpose Summit tomorrow afternoon?
Leaders and people in your organization can either accelerate or decelerate your growth. The choice is yours. Because it's leaders who create the culture. And it's us as leaders, we're there to create the culture where people can perform their personal magnificence. And you know, I've introduced you to Al, the soul-sucking CEO, or Alice. He's going to be in my pocket tomorrow. I created to talk about these behaviors that create these toxic cultures. You know, during COVID, and it was in the book, I talked about the great escape. People call it the great resignation. It wasn't a great resignation. It was the great escape. People were escaping toxic cultures. And now, why aren't people going back to some organizations? Why the hell do I want to go back there? I didn't feel like I belonged. No one told me I mattered, and I wasn't able to make choices. I want to stay away from that. Is someone on a Sunday afternoon feeling sick because they're going to the office tomorrow? Or as they're walking out the door, that on Monday morning, are they giving their husband, wife, or significant other a high five and saying, I'm so excited to go see Charlie today at Broad River because fill in the blank.
So say someone agrees with you and says, that's what we want to do. Will you also go into like how?
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. So don't miss that talk tomorrow. No. Garry, how can someone connect with you after the summit?
LinkedIn is the best way. Just search me, Garr, 2 R's, the Ridge, Ridge, Garry Ridge on LinkedIn, or my website is www.thelearningmoment.net.
Thelearningmoment.net. And when is the 4th book coming out?
It'll be out early next year. It's in the with the publishers now. The title's done. Any dumb ass, donkey can do it. And I'm the dean of dumbassery.
I got it. And Garry, this has been great. Any final words you'd like to share?
Life's a gift. Don't send it back unwrapped.
I love it. That is Garry Ridge here live from the Purpose Summit in Stories from the River. Thanks so much, Garry. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.